welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we're going to do quite a mix of things, okay? Because I feel there are so many things that we need to touch up on, and part of which will be reclaiming your year, part of which will be the kind of lifestyle that we live, and part of which can even go into the area of multiplication and a bit of business and why we give up when things are not going the way we want them to go. So there's a lot that we're going to be hinting on here and there, and I hope that you can be able to move with us because the speed is going to be quite high, okay? So invite your friends and let them come watch with us. But for those of us that are here, I hope that we can be able to interact, be able to ask, be able to answer or respond to some of these questions and be able to move together, okay? So with your pen and paper and ready to go, let's go. So part of what I wanted to, that I really felt, I felt so many things to talk about today, but part of what I really wanted are the areas that God wants to stretch us in. Now, if you cannot be a people helper, you cannot talk about business, you cannot talk about advancing, you cannot talk about being on top of your industry if you are not stretched. Like, you cannot be the former you, the small you, the comfortable you, and think that you're going to be on top of your industry, because you're seeking to make impact, but not just impact, to even earn out of that impact. Now, so many of us, money drives us, and we are able to say, okay, this is the target that I have money-wise, so money drives you to be able to do other things, but you realize that there are other things that may seem like small, that if we don't take care of, especially in the realm of the spiritual realm, because business is first in the spiritual before it is in the physical. We manifest business. It's an idea, we conceive, and then we think about it, and then we go and build it, and we brainstorm it, and then we bring it into tangibility. But again, there are certain areas in our lives that I really felt are very crucial, and it's so easy to miss it. It's so easy for you to think about, what do I do next? How do I go to the next level? Who do I talk to? But again, you miss out your own personal life and how much you must stretch in order to accommodate the kind of blessings that God is going to place into your life, okay? So one of them, I actually put it here, the kind of crisis lifestyle that we get used to. And the crisis lifestyle that usually leads us to going to God. You realize that so many of us love going to God when we are in crisis. When we are happy and everything is not, everything is working out, we don't feel that there is need for God. And yet, there must be a continuity in us understanding God and building a personal relationship with God and Him being able to unveil. We talked about discernment, we talked about revelation, we talked about the prayers to pray, we've talked about all those things. But you realize that you must have a continuous relationship with God. You must stretch in that category that, you know what, even when things are good, I am going to pray. Even when things are good, I am going to submit myself. Even when things are good, I'm going to obey. Even when things are good, I am going to listen to the voice of God, or I'm going to listen to people that God is using, even when things are good. So my relationship with my Maker is not only crisis-oriented. But we all agree that we love crisis, we also have relationships with other people that are crisis-centered. You call your brother only when you need some money. You call your mother only when... So you only call that person. And sometimes we get tired of such people. You realize that if someone is only dependent on you for finances, but they cannot check on you, they cannot love on you, they cannot care about you, they cannot even ask you when you go through a crisis yourself, they don't want to know, they feel like you are a metal. For them, they are human beings. So for them, they are, give me. But when things are fine in their lives, they do not even, you do not see their phone call. They are busy, they are chilling, they are taking pictures, they are putting them on Instagram. Life is lifing. But when crisis comes, they will call you, and guess what? Even if you don't pick, they will leave 100 missed calls. As in, such people have a sense of entitlement. Like they feel they're entitled to your money. You must give it to me. And sometimes because she's your sibling, or sometimes because, by the way, some of them are parents. because we're supposed to give to them. But again, there are also parents who are crisis parents, especially after you grow up. They don't check on you. When you give birth, they will never come to the hospital to see what's happening. They will never ask you how your marriage is. They will never want to know anything. They will chill until crisis comes, and then they will call. And then if you don't respond, oh mwana na kola shida, and they start complaining. Now, how much more, because the earthly things should teach us the things of the heavens, or the things about God. That just like you don't want someone to do that to you, that even when someone does that to you, you will not pick, you will not pick, and you will not pick. And next time, if you're really merciful, because there are people who are people pleasers, they're like, Bambi, how will they survive? And then after that, you send them some money, but your heart will grow tired and grow weary. And at some point, on Jakula Bukand, you will tell them that, you know what, I don't have, even when you have. Why? Because this person has shown you that my relationship with you is crisis-centered. Do you know some romantic relationships are also crisis-centered? That is why a woman will say, Kankulinde, bonotuka mumbere mbyo jakutegera ni yakubererawo. Oja kunonya. Do you know that that is crisis-centered? So I feel like God wants to stretch us in that area so that we are people in season and out of season. We are faithful in building our relationships, not with just people, but even with God. And understanding that what we don't want others to do to us, we don't want to do to others. So we should not be crisis-centered people or living a crisis-centered kind of relationship with our God. No, that is not how it's supposed to be. We are supposed to be with Him all the way, okay? And there is no way God can trust you, because then He's like, if I bless him, he's going to disappear. Just like, let me tell you, the people that are also crisis-minded in our lives, do you know that we tend to give them handouts? Because when you give them much, they will never come back. So you're like, to keep you around, when you give them 100, when you ask their, you give them 20. And then next time they come with 200, and then you give them 40. And then, so they keep around, because you're like, you know what, I'm not going to finish, I'm not going to be the Jesus in this person's life. So you realize that some of the blessings, do you know that there are people who are also workers, but they're crisis workers? You as an employer, at least you have faced that. My goodness, when they are in need, for example, they've just applied for the job, fresh. So what happens is they will work, they will even remind you about the things that you have forgotten. By 6, they are at work, they're reminding you, they are putting in their work, they get their first salary, they get their second salary, and then they go dwindling and dwindling and dwindling to the extent of, to even familiarity. You tell them this, they go and tell, you know, the other time they didn't know the workers around, so they were careful, but now that they know they are workers, they start seeing butono, eh? You tell them, but you didn't come early. Ye mama kakati dayogerere no mu matama lwachi kubanga banne kati abamanyidde, and that is a crisis person. And then life will go under delivering, you know, mugumikiriza, because the truth is some of us as employers, we start even seeing these people as our children. No, you start being patient, you know, until that they outdo their own patience. Hoping they will change. And then when you realize that they will never change, you terminate. When you terminate, the day you call them to terminate, they can promise heaven and earth. They will tell you, boss, I will go back to being, I will do everything that I was supposed to do. Why? Because they are crisis people. Now you cannot be a crisis person and expect any good thing from God. He needs you to be able to trust you when things are fine, that you're still going to seek His face, that you're going to love His people, that you're going to go on with your contribution. Some of us in crisis, that is when we're like, we're going to pray a lot, and then we fulfill all the prayers, and then we even fast, and then we even give. But you are not giving at the right time. You're showing God, ndichinyakula. Nzize kubako byenkubako, ngende. So I feel like that is very important. It's something that Chesolo Kwisa Mama. So we can miss it. We can talk about money, we can talk about everything else, but for as long as we are not stretched in that area, there is no permanent blessing that is going to come to you, because God says that his blessing, he does not add sorrow. But remember, with a crisis kind of lifestyle, you have already added sorrow yourself. So even when a blessing comes, you outdo it or you undo it yourself. Okay, so I hope that we can be able to be that kind of people. Okay, let's go to number 2. Number 2, the area of stretching is the consumption lifestyle that we are used to. Okay, the consumption lifestyle that we are used to. When I read my Bible, it talks about humbling yourself so that you will be exalted. That means you must be of service in order to get. And it doesn't say that you will get by getting. No, it says give and be given. So that means that there is a contribution, and I think I've said it before, that if we are not stretched from a place of consumption to a place of contribution, where we know that we must be of service, where we know we must be givers, where we know we must be lovers, where we know we must be, even in romantic relationships, no one wants consumerism. Because to withdraw and deposit. So if you're only withdrawing from a relationship, you're not building a relationship. You're not. It has to be a two-way street. You love me, I love you. You respect me, I respect you. You are loyal. But if you want one side of the puzzle to give, to be respectful, to be loyal, to be, while you are the taker, you're the taker, you're the taker, and you're not giving anything, that person will do it, and maybe they will start people pleasing, and they will start compromising on their values. But one day they are going to get tired. And when they get tired, you will be out of the door. So we need to be able to stretch ourselves and ask ourselves, where can I be of service? Where can I make the most contribution? Where can I make the most contribution? I believe that that is something that is, even in the kingdom mannerisms or in the kingdom principles, God does not expect you to be a taker and taker and taker. He even expects that as you get from him, you hold other people's hands. He says, give and it shall be given. And sometimes we even deny ourselves of the servant leadership that God gives us. Because we are busy consuming, we are busy taking in. Now, you see, even God gets somewhere and gets tired. He says, you know what, I don't think I am pouring into you so that you will pour into others. That I don't want to be a reservoir. I don't want you to be a reservoir. I want you to be a river. But you are busy saying, you know what, I am taking in as much as I can. I am learning. I am doing whatever it is that I'm doing for myself. That is not, we should be able to stretch and know that we are doing it for another person. Let that person, that is why we talk about the avatar, that is why we talk about the niche, that is why we talk about the target audience, that is why we talk about serving people. And when it's service, agabe mmere. Do you know that gwasemba yokulya? Agabe mmere, you will even ask, nkuletere chi? Continue serving, continue, because what he doesn't want is us to develop a manipulative spirit. Because when you are a consumer, you start manipulating. If you're a leader and you're like, bampe chitiwa, bamfukamirire, bampe sente, bampe, so webata kuwade sente ngo bagamba, ogenda kufa. This is what the Lord says. You realize, so you start twisting people's hands so that they can do, when they stop being obedient or respectful because of a bad character they have seen in you, then you start giving scriptures where they are, or motivational quotes where it is convenient for you. Who told you you are creating your own convenience? No. You're not creating your own convenience. You're creating convenience for other people, and that is how your upliftment and your exaltation is going to come. So if we want to be the true servant leaders, if we want to be the true people in service, in real service, then we should be able to know that our hearts must be stretched in that area and know that it's not going to be easy. Let me tell you, leadership has never been easy. It has never been. How many employees do you have? 24. But it's like a classroom of young children. You will give the same orders every day. You will have people with the same mannerism. Today I was talking to our group and our team here, and I was telling them, let me tell you, toxicity, you are going to find it every workplace that you're going to, because therein you have a mixture of every character trait. You have the gossipers, and then you have those that are upright. You have the God-fearing, but you have the God-fearing on the mouth and those that are God-fearing in their hearts. And then you have those that learn to fight for themselves, and then you have those that are weaklings. They can't fight for themselves. So you see people are taking advantage of others, people are stepping on others, people are backbiting, people are backstabbing, people, like there's all sorts of things. And then sometimes you come to a conclusion as a leader and you're like, they will never change. Like certain traits, you come to a conclusion and say, they will never change. But I still told one of a smaller team today, and I told them that their imperfections are not going to hinder what God wants me to do in their lives. Do you see what leadership is? Their imperfections are not going to hinder, they are not going to stand in the way of what God has called me to do in their lives in this season. So now, God is stretching me to be able to accommodate that if I can be able to take care of 70, 80 workers, 100 workers, a time is going to come when I have a workforce of 200, when I have a workforce of 300, 500, 1,000. So when nsobola okuzimba omutima kati and I want to say nkoya abantu, ngenda kola ki employing bisolo. Ngenda funa amayanzi ngateke mukabox mbagambe nti kakati gwe kola. I'm not going to do that. I'm still going to work with people. So I better learn how to work with difficult people, with toxic people, with narcissistic people, with people who are self-driven, and I then have to be able to be equipped and stretched to know who to be able to manage, how and when. Because we are not going to manage all of them the same. So you realize as a leader, you are being stretched. And sometimes the stretching is going to annoy you. Sometimes the stretching is going to cause you to cry, okay? So I need us to be able to also, one of our prayers, the reason as to why I'm talking about these areas of expansion is that we will go to God in prayer. Number one, we will know that these things happen to everyone. But number two, we will strategically position ourselves to be stretched in this season so that we do not have to learn the hard way later. Yeah, you better go through it right now. You better learn to contribute right now instead of God finding you up, standing and namalala with your ego and he breaks you down to the level of being a servant leader. You don't want that. You want to humble yourself so that in due season he will lift you. And while he lifts you, that's the stretching. He lifts you on job. He lifts you. It's a training ground. He puts people before you. He brings the MPCMB. He brings the gossipers. He brings the people who know more, who are unteachable. He will bring every sort of person in your way. And guess what? Then I'm going to change and go to a different workplace. And then you go with your high heels, with your resume, and you're like, I'm highly qualified. Let me tell you, you can eat your qualifications. For as long as you are not stretched, for as long as you have not gone through the training, just imagine, they hire the army people, enrollment, and then they just take you to the battlefront. Who does that? You're just going to dodge the bullets. But again, are they even dodgeable? Because you do not have the science of the war. You don't have the art of the war. You don't know that this is how I spy on the enemy. You don't know that this is how I hide. You don't know when to give up. You don't know when to surrender. Because that is all the science of battle. Yeah. So that means you must be stretched when you find them in their training camps. Babe yangu obukolwa. They are full of mud. They are behind sacks, hiding. They are behind, they are doing all sorts of things. There's a place I found, they had invited me to speak to some of the Sudanese, I think they were Sudan and Ethiopia, not Ethiopia, which country was that? But they were coming back from war. They were coming back and they needed rehabilitation. And it was a training camp. And they had tied barbed wire underneath the barbed wire. And barbed wire nga nawe bw'oyingira yo tomutwete gugenda nengo olina okwenyigayo wansi under barbed wire. Naye nga waliyo ebisooto n'amazzi. So that means omutwe gwina okubeera waggulu kyokka tegwina kutuuka ku barbed wire, you have to go like this so that omumwa tegugenda. But they are showing you that in the terrain of the battle, no one is going to tell you do this or do that. You have to survive. That is why we say survival for the fittest. But again, how do you get fit? By sleeping in your bed, by wanting easy things, by quitting on people and quitting on relationships. Is that how you're going to be trained? No. You have to be stretched. Everything we go through is a training, and we have to learn to breathe even when we are underwater. Even when we are overwhelmed, we are through our necks. We're like, you know what, I have had it. I want you to take a moment and just think and say, okay, what lesson must I learn right now? Because you will need it. Some of you are going to be one of the pivotal speakers in this world. But you do not want to take the center stage without any ounce of experience and training, and you just come and say, I also have something to say. No, people who have something to say don't speak for themselves. Their lives speak. What they have done speaks. Other people speak for them. Baba Isana wo, because they say your gift is going to open the way for you. So while you are consuming and you're saying that is not a life they just arrive at. No. And by the way, some of us, even when you get to that place of someone holding your back, doing what you even don't want it, you're like, you know what, I am guarding my heart. My heart should be contrite. My heart should be humble enough to know I have not arrived, because the moment I arrive right now, I am dying, and everyone that has been looking up to me is dying. Because then I've placed a ceiling on their lives. Then everyone that follows me is going to break ceilings. Why? Because I have allowed. Okay? So, consumerisms, the lifestyle of consuming and consuming and consuming, that is not going to cut it. Not for God, not for you. It's just not going to help you in any way. Okay? You can never even be spiritually satisfied with just consumerisms, okay? And it keeps you from being a person of exploitation. I think we've talked about that. And even relationships or marriages don't want takers, they want givers, okay? So let's go to the third one. The carnal mind, okay? The carnal mind, or the carnal lifestyle that we usually live in our lives. When you talk about the carnal, it reminds me about what we talked about some time back. We talked about the vampire kind of, I think we talked about the vampire Christians that say, God save me, but leave me alone. Don't discipline me. Because again, he can't save you without disciplining you. That is why they say, you know, when you come to God, you come without, you know, perfecting your ways. You know, you confess. But again, when you come, you have to make sure that you get in the line. Some things no bivako. So even, I mean, wherever we will go, there is always a place where we have to be able to know that even when the softness gets us in, there is a hardness that we are going to beat, and that hardness must be embraced, and that hardness is supposed to be for our good. Okay? So if you have the carnal mind there, you will start complaining. You'll be like, but me, those ones, I don't want. Me, I just wanted that part of saying yes. Me, I just wanted that part of being employed, but don't orient me. Don't tell me what I need to do and what I don't need to do. Okay? And then when I fall short, don't discipline me. What kind of company are you going to? You know, if I come late, or if I don't deliver the goods on time, if I know, you know, there are people who but they still want to work with you. And then I'm asking, how are you going to work with me if you can't do even the little things? Do you know that a person who over-delivers, sometimes they can even think about you and they're like, you know what, I think boss is not well. I think the situation, I've been reading into it. Why? Because they have the emotional intelligence. But people that don't have the emotional intelligence, those are the ones that are operating in the carnal mind. Those are the ones that are saying, I mean, give me the fork and the spoon, but don't teach me how to eat with them. So I will hold the phone like a farmer, and you know, but you have to have etiquette. You can't just come anyhow. Queens are made. They are not born. No. You have to be taught how to be feminine. You have to be taught how to be elegant. You have, just like men are made. Boys are born. Men are made. So you can't say, oh, you know, I was born a man, so I have authority. Nedda, you learn how to tame your authority. Yes, you have it, but where do you use it? How do you apply it? Respectfully and loyal to people, not in a way that is manipulative. So the carnal mind will convince you of something else, okay? But the emotional intelligence will tell you that, you know what, you need the whole puzzle. You just don't need the soft part, you need the whole puzzle in order to get to the discipline. You say, me, all I want is earn money, earn money. But in the business, are you going to just earn money? No, you're going to invest. You're going to work hard. You're going to show up every day. You're going to, so that takes resilience, and the carnal mind is not going to give you the resilience. The carnal mind will always be on the complaining side. The carnal mind is going to be, so I feel that area of our lives need to be stretched. Maybe God has stretched it at some point, but I feel like we need to super stretch it in our lives, okay? So that we can know what to do and what not to do, because this robs us. You know, when we talk about I think the biggest references I have are of the Bible, because I read the Bible. When you talk about, like, God is my shepherd. He makes me lie down in the green grass and stuff like that. And then, you know, even when I go through the valley of shadow of death and what. But you remember now, that is a shepherd. Now, a shepherd, when you are, I don't know if you people, because you have to direct. You like sawa zitusezo kudaye kangozi kubanga ngozi tunuza waje zino okulaga, otherwise zo zijja kulia the whole night. They will not mind. Actually, even when you're taking them, even when you're getting them out of the corral, because I've ever done that. You have to beat them. Some of them will show you that they're running around the corral. They don't want to get out. So you get them out, and then they hear the voices of their mothers. Now they want to go into the bigger corral. And now you have to go there and fight, get them out of there, get them on the way. Now, even when they find other other cattle, they also are taken up. They are like human beings. Zigendo kolo lugambo. Ogendo klabe ezizo zibulidde muzabali. Ogenda so kwa oli azitwala walala, gwozitwala walala. So there is always, and by the way, you always know it. You always know it. I remember we used to have names for them, and you will always know that Gaju is like that, you know, that Sine is like that, and they will even tell you that, by the way, that one you even have to tie it, especially if it's a calf or even if it's a real cow or a bull, but you will know that this one is different from the others. So you see where I come from? I have done it all. I have literally done it all. So the carnal mind robs you of the shepherd, robs you of even mentorship. Because no one, when you're signing up, like, things are easy. You sign up, you know, I have my company, I can start. But mentorship demands that you do something. It demands that you walk the journey. Do you think it's easy to show up here every... Is it easy? It's sacrifice. There are things that you're foregoing in order to be here. So even when it comes to the Lord is my shepherd, by the time you call someone shepherd, that means they can discipline you, they can guide you, they can beat you, but there are benefits to having a shepherd, that they lead you to the green grass, that even when you walk through the shadow of death, you will fear no evil because the shepherd is with you. Okay, so I know so many of us have mentors or people that we look up to, or people that speak even into our lives. That means if you cannot submit, then you are missing out on the leadership, on the shepherd, on the shepherd, on someone who can give you a covering. And some of us to leave our chetwala, and then we want to be able to lead other people. Kati oli chetwa ogenda bagamba che, because chimu bibiri jamugamba oyo muveko chimu bibiri ogenda tebijja kusoboka. You get it? But again, when you listen to people, you learn that, okay, there are many seasons. People understand things differently. Can I understand where they're coming from? That is how you're able to listen to people and to be able to help them in their particular problems and seasons without you projecting your inferiorities on them. Okay? So the carnal mind is something that we really, really have to look at, and we should be able to curb it. Okay, we should be able to limit it. We should be able to be vigilant that now I am into my carnal, mind. That, you know what, I want my cake and I want to still have it. I want to eat it, but I still want to have it. That's not going to happen. That I want the job, but I still want to do my manyanga. You cannot have it. That, you know what, I want to have all the fun in the world, spend whichever way I want, but I also want to grow my business. Choose one. The carnal mind will tell you, everything is doable. Not everything is doable. There are seasons of sacrifice. There are seasons when you clearly see that there is a growth, and where you have to be able to speculate about the future. You have to keep something in the future. For example, when this season goes well, October, November, December, that means so many people are going to eat and party in this season, and they're going to forget school fees in January. And then January will come and they will be like headless hens. And that happens to most of the parents. And that happens to best of people. Like it does not segregate. Like it just feels like sometimes we are aloof in our own lives. We are not present. But otherwise, if you're the planning kind, you'll be like, you know what? And some of us that have gone through bad situations in our lives, let me tell you, I will be a super planner. That I will anticipate things that have no business happening. Yeah. When you tell me to pack to go for a journey, I will think how cold it will get. I will pack things that I'm not... Even if you tell me that it is summer in that country, I will say, you never know. In case. There are people who are like me, and I know there are so many who are like me, who will even keep some money just. You never know. Something can happen. But again, there are those. Yeah, those. Yagamba chichichi, oyagala omuyembe mu myaka 5, yagamba ensigo yino, ogamba kagituleko njirye. You see the carnal mind? The carnal mind, it takes us back to the talents. That says that, you know what, when you gave me your talent, I used it for transaction and I got 2. That next one, when you gave me your talent, I got 4. And the next one is like, I knew I had boss. I knew that okungulia jota sigira. Akasente ko nakatereka ngabo akampa bwekolachi. Bwekali. Our God is a God of multiplication. He's not a God of things should be the same forever and over and ever again. No. He's the only God who can be the same. That his word is yes and amen. But our situations change. Okay? And the things that we do change. So you need to multiply even your life. Because stretching is multiplication. You need to stretch yourself so that osobola okugasa. Because tuogera kukugasa, we are not talking about helping ourselves. No, we are talking about, and there is no way you can help others without helping yourself. God will first help you, but he stretches you so you can accommodate the things that he has placed in your life. Okay? And then let's talk number 4. Okay? Now, number 4 is the cognitively challenged lifestyle. Cognitively challenged lifestyle. Now, when you talk about cognitively challenged lifestyle, so many of us want things the way we want them. Okay? The way we want them. We don't want to put our mind to it. But we want to be present in the body. Okay? So we come, we see. Tuberanga abaketta mu buli kimu. We don't fully involve ourselves. And business cannot operate like that. You don't come to show off. You don't come to say, nange nakolako business. So there are people who do that. You don't come to say, nange naigako kubwa coach. You don't come to do that. We come in this arena to fully immerse ourselves. Toja kulima, no immediate no tandiko kuwa bantu embozi. Do you know the people who were like that? Back in the days, I mean, in the digging arena. You go abalala nenga bamumanyi nti yaleta mbozi. Buli kaseera ate bayina ennyimirira. Ayimirira omuyini n'agutuulako wano, n'alyoka afunya amagulu n'agakola bw'ati, n'abeera ng'omulema. Naye n'atandika okunyumya emboozi, n'anyumya emboozi naye, and such people used to be very manipulative. You would end up digging their part. Bali mako katonao. And then yagamba yitamu bwoti laga nawe jangu omukwatireko wano, and by the gabaina kalimi, like they would really convince you. So you have come, you have showed up, but your mind is not into it. Still, when the harvesting season comes, goba wedi pakubya abalala. Do you know there are people even in those arenas, like they know that it's the season, they must be planting, but they look at everyone else planting, and it's like ndi wulira va mukasolya nsenja muvaamu nga nyingide mu seppichi. So that challenged lifestyle, that cognitively challenged lifestyle, is not a lifestyle that is going to sustain anything. Not marriage, not relationships, not business, not friendships. But as in, decide, where do you belong? Decide where you belong. So you realize that when we stretch in that area, in the area of being cognitive, in the area of understanding, in the area of immersion, of full involvement, you're going to into a partnership, and then you talk to this person, give them all the details of the partnership, and they just don't understand, or they choose not to understand, or they're aloof. They're like, you know what, it's none of my business, or maybe you've got job bicola. Have you ever seen that? Like, you're the negotiator. So they don't even pay attention to understand what you're talking about, because they know you're going to do it all. Now, kekakutanda n'olwala, that business is not going to go through. If you come late, that business is not going to go through. The reason as to why you are partners is that you will both be in this thing, that you will be an understudy, that yes, that person can excel at something, but I will be a fallback position just in case they cannot be there. That when I get there first, I will enter the boardroom, I will say what I know. Why? Because nchirimu. But some of us bakueleza email not ajisoma. They send WhatsApps you don't read. Why? You are cognitively challenged. So you must be able to stretch. That means being intentional and deliberate. And you're like, you know what? Sometimes, has someone ever asked you, did you read that email, and you lie? And you're like, yeah, I read it, and then no, you get into generic, like weonya. But clearly you don't have any clue about what they're talking about. So some of us are living lifestyles which are like that. Even in relationships, by the way. You don't know where it's going. You're just minded about your business. The other person that is breaking, you know, the partner that is breaking is the partner that is overloaded with information. They want things to work. And then there are some of us who are perfectionists. You know, I'm a recovering perfectionist. Like, if I were your partner, I would want things to go the way they are supposed to go. So while I am briefing you, pay attention, because I will know it when you're not paying attention. And then it used to baffle me, and it used to disturb me, and you would talk to someone and you would clearly know that they are not listening to you. They're either responding, they're like, yeah, but you clearly know. Mugamba nkugambye ki? Agamba mbadde mpulira. Mbadde mpulira. Ate balina engeri gye beekazaamu. And sometimes, let me tell you, and those ones are very bad. Those wakiri ogambako nti siwulidde alondamu ebigambo bitono, and then because bapalapalanya nnyo n'abigatirizaako ebigambo ebirala n'akulaga nga ategedde by'oyogedde, kumbe abiresa nga bw'abiresa talina na kimu kyategedde. So this is what happens. Get to execution. Nothing. Like, they just don't know bitandikirawa. They don't know. A new person will come and understand what you're doing, and yet the person you're partnering with does not understand what you're doing. Now, this is what happens. After some time, you learn not to depend on that person. You learn to go solo. You're like, you know what, time to say yokugenda sijana kula pula. You will either wake up on your own, and in my life, that is how people have learned to catch up with me. So I'll be like, you know what, I will go. I can warn you once, I can call you, I can wake you up, I can tell you Bambi tugende, I can tell you, but when it gets to my head, I will not even warn you. But you went without telling me, okolotia. Nedda, the track record you get it. So many times I have walked, so many times I have told you, so many times. So now, yeah. Ojja kunsangayo. Kongoja, duka, kolachi, but catch up. You get it? And so many, we work with so many people who are like that. That is why I don't want us to do it to other people. If you are into something, even God says it, that you know what, if you're warm and you're cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. Choose. That if you are in it, you are in it. If you're eating a frog, eat a juicy one. At I want to eat a frog, but I want to eat a thin one. I want to eat a small one. What is that? You're wasting our time. I want to do a master's degree, but again, I don't want to read so much. Decide, what do you want? You know, I want to be in a relationship, but I don't want a relationship that stresses me. Stay single. And I want to be in a marriage, but I want to be in a marriage that is flowing with love. My friend, butterflies will go, you know, and you will get to a place where you are seeing things like in 3D and in 5D. And you have to call a spade a spade. So if you're the kind who wants to live in a fairy tale, please don't get married. So cognitively challenged people, sometimes they just choose it. Because if you're deliberate, you will decide. No, and sometimes when it concerns them, that is when they show the seriousness. So that means we should also try to understand who is for us and who is not for us. So that if they are not for us, we spit them out. Whether it's business partnership, whether it's, as in you learn to say, not even, and by the way, God gives you a certain amount of maturity that you don't even quarrel with someone when you're spitting them out. You just walk on. You just go on. You keep getting your deals, you keep, you know, putting on well, smelling nice, showing up, and they think you're still the former one, you will come, obalabule, kumbe, walabuse. And then when they play catch up, that is when they call everyone. Kati mungambireko, kakati, you know, and they're like, you know what, I know what I want and I'm going for it. Okay, so let's not leave, let's stretch ourselves from those cognitively challenged. Research if you must, read if you must, show up if you must, understand if you must. Okay, there is no information you can fail to get in this earth. If you really want it, you can actually get it. Okay, and I think let's go to the last one, which is I will call it the claustrophobic kind of lifestyle, where we box people into our expectations and we want them to perform at the level we want them to perform, or we want them to be who we want them to be. We want to box them up. That if you're not doing this, do you know there are people who are like, if you're a business person, there is no one formula fits all. Every business is running on their own. Yes, there are principles that join us all together. But do you know that when someone is not doing a particular thing, you're like, he's not doing this. No, it matters how they feel and what they do. It's like people who go to church. Do you know there are people who go to church and they tell, but they are not clapping as much. You know, if you're not clapping as much, then you're not a good Christian. Don't box people. Actually, they could be closer to God than you, who is jumping up and down. What? I know. Why aren't you? What are they saying? They're not even shouting, you know. They're not even, you know, they are not committed. They don't come for Bible study. Let me tell you, the person you're telling is not coming could have a closer walk with God than you who is showing up every day. So let's not box in people because of what we know and our experiences. Let's live an open mind. Let God stretch us in that area so that we can learn to be open-minded people helpers. Because the only way you help people is meeting them where they are, not you wanting them to be who you want them to be. So if it does not look like this, if it does not, you see people who go to shops to buy clothes and then someone just boxes them somewhere as like, people who are dressed like that never buy.
Seriously?
Yeah, and like you have missed a customer. Why? Because you have behaved in a you have gone on with your social media. Why? Because that person looks like they cannot buy. Like who wrote it on people's faces that this one can buy, and how do they even look like? I know we have all faced it. I mean, I have faced it I have been judgmental at one point. You look at someone and you categorize them, you know, either they're lousily dressed or they're just speaking too much, or they're asking too many questions, they're not committing. But let me tell you, at the level of maturity I am on, I am willing to give information even when someone is not willing to buy. Like even when they're asking too much, I would rather overgive them information. Whether they buy somewhere, whether they do what with that information, I'm like, you know what, you have met me, you want information from me, I am going to give you that information. Do with that information what you wish to do with it. Because that is pride. And pride does not, it means you are still small. Pride means you have not grown. Pride means you have not been beaten down. Pride means you are still manipulative, you know, you are still willing to figure it on your own or in your own way. And pride, that cannot even allow you to pray. Because not praying is pride itself. Because you're like telling God, I know what I am doing. So leave me alone. I don't need you. And that's why they say that pride comes before a fall. So you us being people helpers, being business minded, being, you know, we have to be in a world where we are open minded, where we are not easily offended. Bandange, have you seen people who are offended by everything? You cannot be a business person, you cannot be a people helper while you're being offended by everything that is happening. That means you have cocooned people to the standards that you want them to operate on, and you cannot allow challenge. How we grow is when we allow challenge, that someone does it differently. That, by the way, you can employ someone who can have a better system, a better working system than what you knew. Now, because you're open-minded, you do not just cluster people and categorize them and throw them in pending baskets. You don't just say, that is how that person is, okay? You listen to them and you're like, what good can I get in what they have said? Can I be able to incorporate it? I think it's Tim who gave us an example some time back about, it was about, I think, toothpaste. How they got an idea from the janitor or the cleaner, where they're saying, how do we increase sales? How do we, you know, improve our profit margin? How, you just imagine, there are people with the big bellies, pot bellies, with the ties. They have gone to, I mean, they have masters in commerce. They have all these things. They're sitting, they're scratching their heads. How do this? How can, distribution, more distribution. Everyone's like, there's something we are missing. Until, because I think it used to be very small, you see that this medicine that they give for either ears or something, very tiny. So it's like, just enlarge the opening of the toothpaste so that more can come out, so that people can use it very fast, and then they can buy more. Have you ever realized that even if you used a tip of toothpaste, it can be enough to brush your teeth? But sometimes we feel the need of putting on too much. And then you press and in 1 week it is finished and you're going back. Now, that was a cleaner, is one who gave them. Now, if they were also claustrophobic and they just decided and said, you know what, let's, all they can do is just cleaning, all they can do is just, you know, that means they would have missed that point. And you know that some people are braggant like that. They can even laugh. Have you ever seen people laughing at the right thing? Because they are proud and because they are not open-minded and because they lack maturity. So they have not stretched. Do you know that you can do a doctorate? Nayenga you're still small. You know? You're not open-minded. You can go to Harvard, you can go to whichever, and you will go to the libraries and you will read all books. But for as long as your personal life, just like I said, it's something we can miss. Why do professors live a poor life and a broke life? They could have been one of the richest people. But bakwata bikapu, bambala ngato za lubege, na ye mubuza ayogera oluzungu, alwogerera mu nnyindo. Kale nomugamba wajja yuki? Katunda kabalagala, omutunde buli lunaku olabe bw'otaagaggawale. But give them a blackboard, you know, tell them to follow up on that. Yeah, they will do that. But they have not found their purpose. They don't know what their passion is. And forever they die like that. And then they will tell you, if you want the best wisdom in the world, go to people who are doing something. Go to sites, go to people who are involving themselves, not people who look at others and judge them. When you find a person that has, at the level where I am, I will look at a waiter and I will know that this person has a huge future. I will not look at them at the level of a waiter. I will even look at a borderman and I will say the potential this man has, I wish they knew it. But the people that lack a certain level of maturity, they will cluster everyone and categorize everyone. How? Abafanana bwe bati, you know, abakazi abakola bwe bati, abakazi abakola bwe bati, n'omulyanga anyumya ekiboozi kye ekyobusiru tamanyi gye kigenda naye ng'ali biza akinyumya ate mu bantu abategeera. So I want us to be able to stretch ourselves as business people, as people who are doing something important in this world. I want us to be able to stretch ourselves and know that we must enter the world with open minds and be able to hear and get feedback and get criticism and great, because that is how we're going to get better. I hope that how you got better is by getting feedback from your clients. That, you know what, this is the kind of soap, this one that works better for me, ate perfume, ate what everyone will have. It doesn't mean that you're going to do everything, but for as long as you have an open mind, you will say, this is what they want. And then maybe you're not going to give it to them exactly how they want it, but you'll find a way to better yourself or to better your brand in order to be able to outperform. Remember, what we want to do more than anything is to be able to be our market leaders. Is to be able to get not just a fair share of our market, but to be market leaders and to be people that are going to be looked at, leave a legacy. When someone looks at you and say, you know, Ashura was one of the best leaders in this world, and they can attest to it, that, you know what, she was patient. Because some of these things, we talk about them as the fruit of the spirit, but you realize that it's after you stretch in these areas that you can get patience, that you can be tolerant, that you can be resilient, that you can forgive. No, manya, I am dealing with human beings. We are going to have friction, but I can forgive and let go. I am not supposed to hold any form of drama or grudges. I must be able to stretch myself in order to accommodate the level that God wants to get me to. Otherwise, if we are still as small as we are, or if we are still at the levels where we are, whatever comes is going to it's going to overwhelm us. It is going to exert more pressure. So let's build the foundation so that when the pressure comes, we are able to uphold the pressure. We are able to, pressure, even money is pressure. When more money comes, so that you are able to be steady on the foundation and you're unmovable. You're still respectful, but you're the richest woman in the world. Wouldn't that be amazing? But what use is it to eat the whole world, be the richest person in the world, but arrogant? Even a fool will hate you. It just doesn't work like that. Okay? Sorry? I know. Like everyone wants to even stone you or wants to do away with you. Then how can you help people? You can't. So let's stretch and stretch. And one of the ways we stretch are the situations that God pushes us in our ways. One of the ways we stretch is by hearing such information and applying it in our own lives. Okay? Okay, so I love you. If I don't stop here, I might just go on and on and on and on. But I felt we needed to stretch, and I hope you can stretch with me. We can become better leaders. We can build, you know, multi-million, or billion empires and be able to change people's lives and transform lives. But it's all possible for as long as we, the foundation, are strong, are stretched, and we have the capacity to hold whatever is coming our way. Okay?